Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder & Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder & Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder & Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County.
Unlocking Lake County
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located. And welcome once again, Northwest Lake County. This is your host, Dick Barr, here with Unlocking Lake County and our beautiful co-host, Kristen Kaufman. Say hello.
Hello. Welcome back, everyone.
And back in the studio again this week is our mortgage maven, Sly Marinka of the cross-country team at, the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage.
Hello, everybody.
And welcome back, guys and girls.
Thanks for having us.
What a kind of cool day. A little overcast, not too hot, not humid. At least I
love it. I love it. I am pale. I've got light-colored eyes. When it's too bright outside, I'm hiding under shade. I'm hiding by trees. Sometimes I have an umbrella with me.
Do you really?
Yeah, sometimes. Absolutely. Especially if like when I'm traveling, like when I went to Mexico a couple years ago, I absolutely had an umbrella with me at all times just to hide from the sun. I'm too pale.
Yeah, you got that fair skin,
Absolutely.
ginger.
Yeah, I won't tan. Maybe one day all my freckles will come together and it'll look like a tan, but otherwise I'm just getting burned.
And I'm the opposite. I don't believe in sunscreen.
You know, we learned last time we were in Cancun was UV index really has a lot to do with it. You know, I've got fairly fair kids, and a couple minutes in that high index sun, and whoo, they're red as lobsters. But if they stay 3 and below on the UV index and stay inside or undercover during that time, it's a completely different story.
Oh, good for them. Yeah, I had the story ended up fine, but I had a weird little spot on my shoulder last year that I had to get checked out, and the dermatologist was kind of like, you have a lot of sun damage. Like, this spot is fine, but don't mess around with that anymore. And that was enough for me. Like, that 1 week waiting period to find out to make sure if everything was okay was enough for me to never want to mess with that again.
Yeah.
And I'm a millennial, so I did the whole like tanning bed as a teenager and all of that too. So.
How about Sly? So Sly, are you a burner or a tanner?
Tanner.
You're a tanner.
Can't tell by looking at it.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
Yeah, I burn a little bit, but yeah, mainly tan. But it's funny. I've been speaking of all this, like I've been doing a little bit of thinking. Like, did your parents wear sunscreen? Like when they were growing up? Like I don't think it was even a thing.
My dad did, but that's where I got my fair skin from. And he was bald on top too, so he had to do like the sunscreen on the top of his head, on his nose. He had like that typical like thick layer on his nose where it's just like a white
video
of sunscreen.
So a video popped up one day on my TikTok feed about this kind of thing, and they were saying like the person was saying how, you know, obviously skin cancer is a big thing and get it checked out and all that, but you know the cases of it have just skyrocketed.
What,
since,
like melanomas?
Yeah, and it's since like people have been using some of these chemical sunscreens and things like that. So I don't know if there's a correlation there or not, but I mean,
that's interesting.
People stayed in the sun forever and ever without sunscreen, and you never really, I don't know, whatever.
Well, I have to imagine, I mean, I don't know when tanning beds first became a thing, but I know they became really popular 20 years ago when I was a teenager, and, you know, 20 years later, I have to imagine that we're starting to see some of the longer term effects from that, too.
You know, when I was a kid in high school, I grew up with a kid, and his name was Nils Nissen, and his family. So I grew up upstate New York. Well, originally in Long Island, but then we moved upstate. And this was an upstate friend, and we his family would go and camp out on the beach of like the Hamptons every summer for a solid week or 2 weeks. One year I went with them. We were in the hot sun in the middle of probably August for a solid week camping out, and I remember my skin had become so burnt that my face, like, it almost looked like leather face. It had wrinkled and hardened, and then, this is going to sound gross, so the parental guidance suggested, my face was just oozing from blisters. Like you would touch it, and it would just
second-degree burns.
Yeah,
that happened to me.
Oh, really?
Not on my face, but it happened on my back when I was a teenager. I went with a friend's family to up to the UP in Michigan, and none of them brought sunscreen because they're all, you know, they get tans, they don't need it, and I was the only one. I was a kid, I didn't think to bring any, and so I went out repeatedly for a week into the sun, and when I came home, my back was like hard to the touch, and I had to experience that basically for the rest of the summer. It was horrible.
Ouch.
Yep.
Ouch.
And so my friend Nils, you know, about the time my first daughter was born, so 2007, he passed away from melanoma. So from skin cancer. It kind of makes you wonder, is it the exposure to the sun, or is it the chemicals we're putting in our body? Who knows? And when you put on sunscreen, does it block the vitamin D?
I don't know.
I don't know how that works.
Couldn't tell you.
I'm not a biologist or a chemist.
I know you don't get burned when you wear it. That's all.
Right, yeah. And sometimes that's disappointing. You put so much on, you're like, you come home from vacation, you're like as pale as you were when you left.
Right.
I was never a sunscreen guy growing up. And we had it, but, you know, it was probably like SPF 1, you know, whatever's cheap at the dollar store shelves.
I always try to be careful with the language when talking about being pale too, because now I have a daughter who looks just like me. I have one that tans like my husband, and then one with really fair skin like mine. And so I'm always trying to be like really aware of both the words that I'm saying when I'm talking about like pale skin, and like the way that people around us will be like, oh, I'm so pale. And I'm like, but pale's not ugly, right? Because we're in front of a child who's very pale, and she's going to internalize that just like I did. Let's be careful, you know?
I mean, it's all just kind of societal, you know, whatever.
Right.
What is in and what's fashionable. Just like you look at kind of paintings from the 17th and 18th and 19th century, and the vision of what a beautiful woman is different than what it was in the 1960s, and that changed in the 90s, and it's changing again. And it's like every different culture has its own vision of what is beauty.
Yeah, I think it changes out, honestly, as quickly as fashion trends seem to change out these days. Because I remember even just back when I was a teenager, there was that term heroin chic that was really in, where all the
Heroin
actresses...
chic, really?
Yeah, it's a real thing. Yeah, the models and the actresses and singers, everyone was as skinny as humanly possible, and that was like the thing, right? And then like the Kardashian body type came into be. So like you wanted the like curves and the roundness, and like that got a little bit more celebrated as I got older. So I've even just seen that shift in my lifetime.
It's funny. You say the Kardashian curve. I couldn't pick out a Kardashian in a lineup if you paid me. I really don't know. I'm just not plugged into that section of pop culture.
I saw a funny meme this morning that was the Kardashians just had their 20th year anniversary for their show, and I could proudly say I've never seen a single episode.
Yeah.
And I'm in that. I've never watched it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched it. Not out of any sort of stance against it or anything. It's just never really particularly interested me. I can't believe it's been 20 years it's been on, though. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's not stance against it. It's it's just it never was kind of never in my peripheral vision of what interested me. Just the same thing with the whole Housewives and the Jersey Shore stuff. That just never interested me.
I never got into that one. I think I had two favorite reality shows during the era of like reality TV becoming big, though, and it was America's Next Top Model. I loved watching the drama from that one with like Tyra Banks. Do you remember that? It was a while back. And then they had those like celebrity like dating type shows. Like Bret Michaels was on one for like Rock of Love, and then they had like Flavor Flav for Flavor of Love. It was crazy and trashy and horrible, and I loved every second of it. It was so fun to watch.
It's so funny. I think these reality kind of TV shows is what kind of started my distracting my interest from. We live reality. I don't know that I necessarily want to see kind of hyper realized reality on TV, and especially as scripted as was. Although I did get into the Survivor back in the 90s.
Survivor was fun. I liked Survivor. I watched the first couple of seasons of that. We would watch that, and then there was a show, The Mole. Do you remember that one?
No.
No, it came on right after Survivor, right when you remember it, Sly?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my mom and I, that was like our weekly thing. We would watch Survivor, and then we would watch The Mole. Got really into that one.
What was The Mole? It was like kind of like some espionage type thing.
It was like, it's hard to describe it. You're asking me to describe a show from years ago. Basically, it was like you had a group of people, and like all of them but one were like normies, and one was like a spy, like mole that was like giving information to each other about something. I don't remember what the secret was, so forgive me. I'm probably butchering this, but it was kind of like Survivor though, in that like each week there would be like a voting round, and then each contestant would like go into like the little confessional box and say which one they thought was the mole, and based on. It was like, this is the person I think is the mole, and if it's not, this is the person I think should go, or something. And then like somebody would get eliminated every week or something like that. It was really neat though. I'm kind of bummed it's not around anymore, but that was fun to watch.
It sounds like it. I want to jump back to Survivor, because as you're saying that, it just kind of occurred to me. Do you guys remember the first season of Survivor?
Yeah.
Okay, so Richard Hatch, I think, was the winner. And it was very interesting to watch, because you saw the drama, and it felt like real drama, and they were creating all these alliances and working with each other, and who would break the alliance. But this was before. So Survivor was the first time we really ever saw what can a bad guy do to win a competition, and how he betrayed the people he built the alliance with and eventually won. It was the first time we really saw that in modern television. And I think kind of after that, we now have this. And we see it on Facebook. We see it in our politics, where the most evil person sometimes wins.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Evil or cunning, or however it is you want to
Shrewd.
slice it.
Yeah.
For sure. Did you ever watch The Real World?
No. Oh, wait, was that an MTV show?
It was.
I probably a couple times as in high school.
Yeah. Fun fact, I actually auditioned to be on The Real World a while
really?
back. Yeah, years ago.
Wow.
I think it was like, let's see, I'm 35 now, so like 12 years ago, I auditioned to be on The Real World.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
they came to
funny.
Chicago. It's a bizarre experience.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's right. So you were living in Chicago for a while. That's right.
I was, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like hundreds of people in a room. Everyone's lined up, and then you get sat at these like weird tables with like a group of people, and they're like, okay, life story, go. And you've got people just like immediately just like babbling their entire like life story, deep, dark secrets, crying at like a circular table with a group of 30 other strangers.
Wow.
And I mean, you're trying to get picked to be on a reality show, right? So you're saying bizarre stuff to try and stand out.
The most unrealistic
I'm sure.
Literally. I mean, it was such a weird experience, and I got a call back, and I ended up just being like, no, thank you. I don't need to go to the second round of that. That was weird. That's not for me.
That's an interesting story. Yeah, I'd like to hear more about that sometime, maybe during lunch.
Sure.
I was on a reality show.
What?
Well,
yeah, no, I know this.
Yeah, yeah. I was on House Hunters.
You sure were.
Back in 2011, I was one of the House Hunter
I looked
agents.
it up. I wasn't able to find the episode.
Oh, no?
No, you'll have to send me the link one day if you have it. I did try and find it, though, one day.
Holly posted it on her Facebook. It's out
Nice.
there. Really, but the copy of the video that they gave us of the show was just really poor quality. It's really before digital. They gave us this kind of copy CD of it. And excuse me. But what was funny is, the show is 22 minutes of playtime and then 8 minutes of commercials. For those 22 minutes, we filmed for 11 days.
Wow.
Yeah, no one believes that when they see it. 11 days of filming. I think I had to be on sets I don't know, but I had to be there for 6 of the days, and then the other 5 days were at the buyers' different houses.
How did you feel when you went back and watched it? Did it did it make you cringe to see yourself on TV, or were you comfortable? Do you think you did well?
Yeah, one specific thing that blew me away. One of the things is you're out there and you're giving your reality. We all have these things we say, different ways that we talk with our clients. They don't want that. They don't. They want, because they think that provides confusion. Because when I walk through a house with a buyer client, I say things like, hey, we can take this wall down, we can plug this, you can upgrade this. I use the we because we're kind of like a team there.
Yeah.
And boy, they cut me every time. Every time I said we, they're like, who's we? You're not buying this house, Dick. And even my clients were getting a little upset with the director saying, but that's how that's the reality of what this is.
Yeah.
So they
were your real clients, so that part wasn't staged?
They were real clients, and they really bought a house.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to get into the secrets and ruin it for everybody, but yes, there is a real house that gets purchased. We don't make any money on that on the episode. We just get the commission for selling the house.
You don't do it for free?
And but there was one thing that we were in one of the houses. We're going up these stairs, and the stairs kind of split. So you go up the main stair shaft, and then one goes to the right, and there's a little game room up there, and then one staircase goes to the left, and that's where the bedrooms are. And I get up there, and I say the stupidest, cheesiest line: "Jason and Amanda, have you ever seen a split staircase?" and that was what made it to air. There was 11 takes, and that stupid, cheesy line. And
Does it haunt you sometimes?
It does. It haunts me. And I'm not good camera on demand. You turn that camera on, and now say something interesting.
Yeah?
I don't know what to say. But yeah, it was a fun experience. I would do it again.
Yeah. It's interesting when you do stuff like that, because internally, at least this is my experience. I mean, anytime that I've had to do anything on camera, I mean, even just doing the show, right? Internally, I would always be really nervous and worried that I'd be messing something up. And then I would always get this feedback from the people around me, no, you did great. That's amazing. You're a natural. And I would look at it and I'd be like, wow, it's amazing how different the external presentation of that nervousness looks versus what you're feeling inside. Because anytime I've ever had to go back and watch myself, I'm actually I'm always prepared to cringe, and I'm like, oh, actually I did okay. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, this show's a great example. I mean, the number of compliments I get for you're a natural on this, you're a natural on the screen and on the air.
Thank you. That's very nice to hear. I love hearing that feedback. I mean, keep it going, but but I was very nervous to start.
Oh, stop.
Now it's just the three of us hanging out.
Right. Yeah, you too, Sly. You get all kinds of great feedback.
You're literally such a natural,
Thank
Sly.
you.
I think I say it every single time. I learn something new every time you're on the show.
I appreciate it.
You do a great job.
I hate hearing my voice, though. That's the only
Really?
thing.
Well, we like
It's perfect radio
I don't
voice.
know. I can't stand it for some reason.
Huh. And then
I cringe when
even
I hear it.
no, it's great. And even the videos we put out there on social media and Instagram and TikTok, the people, it's just they love the content, they love your presentation of it. I mean, it's really cool. I mean, not one of us have gone as viral as Paul Burker, who
He's got all that personality, though. I mean, I don't blame him.
Paul's a great guy, but he said something about filling a pool with well water based on a question I asked, and then the internet didn't disappoint.
Yeah,
Everyone
people
had
are
an
very
opinion.
opinionated about that for some reason, aren't they?
Yeah, the views are still continuing to climb. Last time I checked.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was
That's
hilarious.
It's so
it was
funny.
30,000, I think, views.
I mean,
Wow.
we talk about things here all the time that are really good. They save you money. They help you with your planning. They literally change your life.
2
But-
likes.
Two likes and 3 views, and probably one of them is me. And then you talk about filling a pool with well water, and it's like, holy crud, right?
Social media is weird, though, right? So,
Yeah, it is.
especially when I first started out, I had a lot of imposter syndrome, and I would get very sensitive to posting things online, and when it wasn't well received, and when I say well received, I'm not saying when I got negative feedback, but when I would get no feedback, right? I would put something out there, and it would get no response, and I'm like, oh, nobody cares what I have to say. Oh my gosh, should I even keep posting? What's the point? But then I would look up other very successful agents, even ones in our area, and they're doing the same thing. They're posting the same stuff, and they're not getting a whole lot of response because people are reading it, and that's really what I came down to recognizing is just because people aren't responding to the stuff that you're putting out there when it's quality content doesn't mean they're not reading it and absorbing it and keeping it in their mind.
No, absolutely. That's what I've noticed through my time in politics and business is that you'll get people coming up to you out of nowhere, people you don't know exist. Hey, you're that guy on this, and I watch your stuff all the time. But they don't necessarily interact, you know, but they're watching.
Absolutely.
They're watching.
They're watching. They're always watching.
What's that song from the 80s? They're watching you.
Yeah.
Oh, copyright violation.
Yep.
Can't do that. We've now been demonetized on YouTube.
Darn.
Anyway, we're getting a little bit away from ourselves. Let's get into the market minute because, we've got every time this time of year, we expect changes. But interestingly enough, we're not seeing that many changes in the market. So let's hit you up with a kind of a recap on what's going on in this week's market in Northwest Lake County.
Stay on top of the market with Dick Barr's Market Minute.
Dick Barr's Market Minute.
Hello and welcome back. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here with this week's Market Minute for Wednesday, July 24th, 2024. Starting with the entire region of Northwest Lake County, we're sitting on 189 active homes, 39 new listings this week, with a big drop from last week, 78. 51 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, about the same as the prior week, where there was 55. 173 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days, big jump from the prior month, where there was only 117. Days on market average, still just over 2 weeks at 17 days, with this number's ticking up slightly. The month supply of inventory at 0.9, so just under a 1 month supply of inventory. And I'm going to go ahead and silence my phone, so sorry about that. Lowest priced home sold in the region is $60,000 with a $1.2 million high. $4.9 million is the highest active, and a $356,000 purchase is the median purchase price. Now on, breaking it down, starting with Antioch, where they have 31 active listings currently. 10 new listings this week compared to 6 the prior week. 11 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, up from 7 the prior 7. 35 homes sold in the past 30 days, about double the prior month, where there was 18. Days on market average is 17 days with a 1 month supply of inventory. Lowest priced home sold in Antioch is $145,000 with a $1.2 million high, and a $2.5 million is the highest active. $365,000 is the median price. Now on over to Volo, Fox Lake, and Ingleside, where they're sitting on 32 active listings. 1 new listing this week, big drop from 9 the prior week. 3 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, up from 1 the prior 7. 12 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days, slightly up from 10 in the prior 30, and a days on market average of 24. They're sitting in the highest month supply of inventory with 4 months. $140,000 is the lowest priced home sold, with $625,000 at the high. $1.7 million is the highest active, and a median sales price of $335,000. Now on over to Grays Lake, Gages Lake, Haynesville, Third Lake, and Wildwood, where they are sitting on 26 homes actively on the market. 9 new listings this week, about a drop in half from 18 the prior week. 9 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, about half of the prior 7, where there was 20. 28 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days, up from 18 the prior 30, and 17 days on market is the average sales time. Only half a month supply of inventory in the Grays Lake area. $176,000 was the lowest price, $600,000 was the high price. Highest active property is $977,000, and the median sales price of $340,000. Now on over to Gurnee, Wadsworth, Old Mill Creek, where they're sitting on 42 active properties right now. That's the highest in the region. 6 new homes have been listed this week, a drop in half from the prior where there was 11. 6 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, down slightly from the 9 the prior. 28 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days, about double the prior 30 where there was 15. Days on market average is 18 days with a just over 1 month supply of inventory. 220,000 was the lowest priced home sold, with 956,000 is the high. 4.9 million is the highest active property, and 430,000 is the median. Now on over to our backyard of Lindenhurst and Lake Villa, where we're sitting on 36 active listings right now. 6 new listings this week, big drop from the 21 the prior week. 14 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, slightly up from the 10 in the prior. 28 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days, up from the 24 in the prior 30. 16 days on market is the average sales time, and 0.8 months supply of inventory. Lowest priced home sold was $207,000 with a $1,075,000 high. $4.5 million is the highest active with a $359,000 median. And to wrap it up with the Round Lake area, where they're sitting on only 22 active properties on the market. That's the lowest in the region. 7 new listings this week, down from 13 the prior. 8 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, staying steady with last week's 8. 36 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days, about 30% increase from the 26 in the prior. And days on market average, lowest in the region, only 14 days, with a 0.8 month supply of inventory. Lowest home price, I always get that backwards when I say that. Lowest priced home sold was $60,000 with a $555,000 high. $499,000 is the current highest active property with a $317,000 median. Okay, let's hear it. Any surprises? What's going on?
No surprises in anything that you said. Surprises in how I agree with you. You said just before you got into this that this is typically when you see things slowing down, that you haven't really seen that be the case. If anything, I feel like I've been noticing things ramping up. I've had more people contact me this week about selling and buying than I think I have all summer, and it wasn't a slow summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Sly?
Yeah, things are normalizing a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not as crazy as it was per se where you can't get your offer accepted, but more people I think are coming back to market. They're getting off the fence. They're, maybe they were disenfranchised last year when they couldn't get an offer accepted because they were doing, like we keep talking about, FHA loans or VA loans. We've gotten a bunch of those contracts accepted. I've seen some price drops, which we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of normalizing a little bit, maybe supply and demand evening out a little bit.
Yeah, and I think we're going to get into a lot of what's going on the mortgage side of things during your mortgage minute after the first break. But I am starting to see that having an effect. But the number of people who are calling to get on the market now it's crazy. It's high.
Yeah.
Usually we see a slowdown at this time of year. Or anyone who's listened to the show more than once will hear we repeat over and over again. You want to be on the market by middle of July because that's when the buyers start to exit the market because of the timing of school registration. But we're not seeing that right now. We're still seeing high. We just listed one this weekend.
Yeah.
Listed on Thursday, first showing on a Friday, had a valid acceptable contract by Saturday, and multiple offers came in, and it's just crazy. And then prices going up over ask, even though properties are being priced at the top of the market. Prices are still going above that, and it really matters the quality now.
Yeah.
Back in February, March, quality didn't matter as much. Buyers were very forgiving because it was more important to get a house than to get a perfect house. And what we're seeing now is buyers can be more picky because there are more options.
Absolutely.
We're sitting on 190 active homes in the region right now, and that's just under the highest that we've seen. Last week we were at 195. This is slightly better at only 189. And what we're going to see is that this is going to well, I really can't wait to hear your mortgage report this week because I have predictions on which either way that the interest rates go. If they go up, I think we're screwed, and I think if they go down, I think we're screwed.
Uh-oh.
I will agree, though. I'm seeing that buyers are being a lot less forgiving, a lot less imaginative when walking through houses now. They're not really as willing to see past the clutter or past any repairs that need to get done because they just came from another house that was nicer.
Right.
Or they're about to go see another house that's nicer.
And the accepted contracts are reflecting that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, presentation really is important now. More so than the last couple of months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more so than it's been for sure.
Yeah.
I think and for that, I agree with you, Sly. I think we're returning to a kind of a more normalized buyer market where they can be picky again.
Now,
Yep.
my question for you is, when do you think that normalization and stabilization will start to reflect in the way that buyers and sellers see the market? Because what I'm seeing right now is and there's a lot of jokes about it, like on the internet in like realtor spaces and stuff, but you're seeing kind of like this, like buyers think it's sellers think it's 2021 still, but buyers seem to think that it's, 2008, and buyers think that they get all of this leeway now because things are changing a little bit, but sellers, still think that they're sitting on gold. And how long do you think it takes until things kind of normalize a little bit on that end?
It's always a trailing effect. It's just like appraisals and CMAs. All of that data is backward looking. So let's say you've got an agent you're working with and they do a couple of transactions, not, a transaction a week and, and the last time maybe they went under contract was 2 or 3 or 4 months ago. And all of a sudden they think the market's still hot, and they're having their buyers come in with those aggressive offers. So we see some of those. And then we see some where agents are, they're a little bit busier, so they're doing contracts more often, and they're seeing the acceptance rate and the rejection rate, and they're coming in a little bit more conservative. So those ones who are coming in with let's say agents who've got maybe 2 or 3 or 4 month old data behind them are still winning. So it's actually in those situations when they come in, they're winning because their numbers are huge. And sometimes they're far above the next closest offer. And they're coming in with strong terms, like waiving inspection sometimes. We accepted our first waive inspection a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, I represent the seller, so I'm going to accept it. But, you're looking at a 100-year-old house. You and your clients better know what they're doing on this, because it's as is and waive inspection. So it's all on you. And they're like, well, my client, knows everything. I'm like, okay. I mean, that's
There you
your
go.
call.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What is it? My conscience is now clear.
Yeah.
And so now, as always, we've left ourselves with only 1 minute to talk about our featured spotlight. We were going to talk about multi-generational housing this week. Not a lot of it in Lake County, but with prices going the way they are and the way kind of zoning regulations work in the county, I think it's something that we have to start looking at and addressing.
My family partakes in it.
Yeah. What's that?
My family partakes in it.
Oh, really? Okay. By choice?
Overall, honestly, I think they could probably go out and do it on their own at this point, but their life kind of works the way it does, and they've got sort of this communal thing going on where, one of my family members still, I don't want to say still because it implies that they just, aren't leaving, but they live with my parents and they have children, and they're always there to help each other out with different things, including the finances, but also just the day-to-day lives.
Cool. And I think what we're going to do is we are going to save this topic for the second hour, so we can get it. So maybe we'll just kind of cut our Q&A short, because I do want to talk about this. I think is an important thing. And
I agree.
Looking forward at the top of the second hour, we've got Lindenhurst Mayor Dominic Marturano is going to be joining us in the studio. And I think we could ask him some questions about it too, as it relates to zoning. And, because there's not just a zoning aspect, there's a parking aspect to it. And there's is there enough space? Is there enough water supply? Like all these things will matter as you increase the occupancy of homes. But we're going to get back to all of that when we come back after this break. And when we come back, we're going to join Sly Marinka of the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, who's going to give us this week's mortgage update. We'll be back.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation.
Barr.
And welcome back. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here in beautiful downtown Round Lake Beach with our beautiful co-host, Kristen Kaufman.
Hey.
And Sly Marinka, the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage.
Hello, everybody.
And new in the studio, joining us is Mayor of Lindenhurst, Dominic Marturano. Say hello.
Good afternoon.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I know you're busy. Dominic, just I'm not shining any shoes here, but one of my favorite mayors, definitely, by far. Really.
Dick, the check's in the mail.
I'm going to tell Scott.
That's perfect. But we're going to get right into...
Before you press that, actually,
yeah, go
so
ahead.
Sly, you have a comment.
Yes.
So we have Laura Kurth Evanson. She said, tell Sly I said hello and thank you in all caps. I closed today. Sly and his team were wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much, Laura. Congratulations.
What a great entree to the Mortgage Minute with Sly Marinka.
Here is the Mortgage Minute with Sly Marinka and Cross Country Mortgage on Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Hello, everybody, and thank you again for having me back. This week's Mortgage Minute, we will talk a little bit about what rates are currently at and kind of projections a little bit for the future. So starting out, the current average 30-year fixed mortgage rate nationally is 6.87%, which is almost exactly what it was last week. Not a lot of new news has come out since last week. Also, the 10-year Treasury yield is at 4.22, which is roughly what it was last week as well. Again, nothing major, groundbreaking here since last Wednesday. Looking forward to this week, the PCE number, one of the Fed's gauges of inflation, that number is being released on Friday. It is expected to be lower, meaning inflation is going down. Another interesting report that recently came out was the quarterly census of employment and wages. They released their fourth quarter job revision data, which showed that even after the Bureau of Labor Statistics' own revisions, they still overstated jobs by 293,000.
Oh, my God.
God.
Was on top of the 750,000
Exactly.
they already adjusted?
Wow.
Yeah, so there was millions of jobs created in the fourth quarter last year.
Turns
whatever.
out there were 3.
Yeah, and now it's literally 344,000 new jobs.
Wow.
So all of that to say that there is going to start being pressure on the feds more and more to cut rates. And in fact, right now, the odds of a September rate cut by the Fed sit at 93.3%.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So get ready. Everybody who's been kind of waiting for lower rates, it's not going to, go down a huge amount overnight, but it'll be a start, and hopefully it'll trend downward. We were talking about earlier as well. Actually, Canada, our neighbors to the north, the Bank of Canada cut their interest rates today.
Significantly?
A 0.25%.
Okay.
So not a crazy amount, but
Well, we've learned at the show that is significant.
it is, and the trend going forward, it looks like that may continue for a little while. Everybody, all these governments are trying to get inflation down, and it's happening, and they're gonna not want to lose too much economic growth, and so that's one way to do it is they'll start lowering the rate so people start borrowing again.
Sly, why did it do such a aggressive drop so suddenly and quickly?
Well, they don't. It's a 0.25%, so it's not a super aggressive. If it's an emergency, if the economy, like when COVID happened, they dropped. They did emergency rate cuts, right? Because it was a major economic thing. But this is more of a trend where they're pushing the inflation down slowly by cutting the rates slowly. Each time they meet, basically.
Okay.
I think it's going to continue to happen for sure. Here, it looks like it's happening in September. 93.3% odds right now. And then going forward, we'll have to keep an eye on that inflation, because if inflation kicks back up, that could cause a problem where, they may decide not to further cut rates.
I might have jumped in at the wrong time, though. I thought we were talking about Canada. We're talking about the U.S.?
Yeah, Canada's was a 0.25%.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the one for the U.S. is projected to also be a 0.25%.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so we might see low 6s.
Well, it's not the actual mortgage rates that they're cutting. It's the short-term borrowing rates and the Fed funds rates. Those are the rates they control, but mortgages follow, right? Like all rates do.
Yeah.
Same with the prime interest rate. That's what your credit cards are attached to. That's what your home equity line is attached to. The Fed controls those rates, but mortgage rates typically follow along with that.
Okay.
So I'm curious to see, because you said something earlier that kind of, if you said that things get bad even if rates do come down.
Yeah.
What's your reasoning for that?
So I think if rates go up, so this is the way I see it. If rates go up, you're going to have less sellers selling, right? And creating more of an inventory issue.
Yep.
But you're also going to have some less buyers because of the rates are up. If rates come down, you're going to see a lot more sellers jump on the market. We have so much pent-up supply.
Yeah.
People sitting there well beyond the 8-year average of living in their homes.
Sure.
Because they're in these sweetheart interest rates. When those rates come down, you're going to see potential for not just increased inventory, but a flooding of the market of new buyers who are selling, buying, selling, buying. So I think you're going to see, I think we're in a catch-22, no matter which way that wind blows. I think we're going to see potential increased pricing.
Yeah, and I could definitely see that as well. But I also see that, obviously the lower the rates, the more affordable things become, right? I mean, which
means more buyers.
True. But also those buyers are going to be paying less, meaning they have money for other things, so it spurs economic growth, right? Because they're not paying so much in interest. So it is kind of a catch-22. I see your point, definitely. Prices, I do think, will go up, but I think that will also get a lot of people off the fence that, like you said, that maybe haven't wanted to sell because, they have such a sweet, 2-3% rate and they don't want 7%. But if we get down into the 5s or, the 4s even, now you may say, all right, I'm ready to move. So I think that would free up a lot of inventory and also get buyers in at the same time and really just spur a lot of economic activity.
But if you increase by any degree, by any order of magnitude, the number of buyers in the market on an already tight supply, you're going to be driving prices up.
Right. So my take is that we'll have more supply because all of the people that are waiting, but they're also probably buyers as well.
Buyers
so I guess
so that's a wash.
I guess
seller is a buyer, right? He's either
True.
a buyer or a renter, right? So they don't actually create the inventory in certain segments. They will, like if they move up, they'll create a buying opportunity for someone in their old house.
Sure.
And if they're moving up into a bigger house, more substantial, they're taking inventory from there. Yeah. If they're moving maybe for a different geography, we might see some geographic or regional differences in inventory, supply and demand. But if they're downsizing, we might have a problem where we have some seniors competing with first-time home buyers for the same type of product.
Absolutely.
Kind of that small ranch home where they can just... so I think it's going to be interesting. I don't think we can tell 100% what's going to happen one way or the other.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see unfold either way. I'm going to ask you kind of a leading question,
Yeah.
Sly. So for anyone who is a potential home buyer and hears in September, we might see some decent cuts. Does that mean that people should be waiting until September to talk to their lender to get things started?
Well, I mean, nobody knows for sure what it's going to be. We're 99.3% odds, but the market's already building that in. That's why we've seen rates come down below 7% for the first time in a while, because the markets already know that. They're already baking in that to the current pricing. So yes, I mean, the rates could come down further. When you get under contract, you don't have to lock your rate in. You can elect to float and wait until you get closer to your closing. But as far as, stopping what you're doing today and, putting your home search on hold because you think rates are going to come down in September, you may miss out. So there's definitely, something to that. What I like about when the rates come down is for the people that are already owners, right? The people that already have their mortgages, because now is a time for you. I mean, I got a huge increase in my tax bill. My insurance went up. I want some relief. Now, it's probably that my rate's probably not, because I refinanced in 2021, so I'm probably never going to be able to get lower than that. But for the people that bought over the last year, 2 years, 3 years, that are stuck at 7.5%, if you could get down to 6.25% or 6%, that's significant savings, and that'll help alleviate some of that pressure. And what I will say, if you are in a situation like that, get in contact with a good local lender, get everything ready to go. Make sure,
And to be clear, it doesn't have to be the lender that you originally made your purchase with.
Nope. You could work with your current servicer. You could work with, the loan officer that helped you. You could work with, anybody. But just make sure your ducks are in a row because, credit's a huge part of it, obviously. Unfortunately, I've had to tell people in the past, sorry, you can't take advantage of the low rates because your credit's a lot lower than it was when you purchased. So things like that, preparing some funds, because even if there are no closing costs, let's say you have an escrow account that has to be funded and you have to come up with some money for some taxes or insurance or whatever. If you're not in a position to do that, you may not be able to take advantage of the lower rates. So always important.
Get prepared now,
Yep.
so that way when the time comes, you can just pull the trigger, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And get going rather than just starting that conversation.
Yep.
I'm going to take that one step further, and my opinion might be a little unpopular on this.
Sure.
And Kristen, this is right up the alley of what the advice you're always giving is, which is the best time to buy a house or best time to sell a house is when you need to, right? So if all of the points and decimal, pennies and dimes aren't that important, when you have to do it is the best time to do it. I think buying now, while we're still sitting on a fair amount of inventory, where you can still get a potential deal where things aren't going crazy because there's not a lot of buyers in the market, might be advantageous to buy now, because we are seeing potential for rate drops. And then, do you do recasts, Sly?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you can buy now, recast a loan in, I don't know, 6 months or something, and not be penalized. So if the rates come down, you can recast a loan at the lower rate.
Can you explain to the listener?
No, that's not recasting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Recasting is when, let's say I want to buy a house before I sell my house, right? And I put down the minimum down payment.
Oh, I see.
And then later on, I sell my house and I want to pay down my principal balance.
So you can do the pay down.
Correct. They'll take my new balance and re-amortize the payment over the remaining term.
Gotcha. So
to get a lower rate is a refinance.
So instead of the alternative, which is they would that money that they would apply to it would just come off the principal and the payment would stay the same for a shorter period.
Correct.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for the correction.
Yep.
So, but they can refi.
Correct.
Let's say, what is the minimum time allowed? Was it typically 6 months?
Yeah, I mean, there's really not a minimum.
Really?
Technically, now most lenders will have something called an early payoff period, where there's a certain period of time where if you pay off the loan, they'll lose their initial commission or whatever. But if rates drop significantly, you're able to typically refinance. There's no prepayment penalty, right? So most loans that we're doing these days don't have a prepayment penalty. So you're typically able to refinance right away. I mean, it typically takes a few months. I mean, rates don't move that quickly, right? Like the rate today at 7%, I highly doubt it's going to go to 5% in September.
Sure.
Crazier things have happened, but it's not normal. But typically, anywhere 6 months down the road, 7 months down the road. There is also FHA streamlines. There's VAIRRRL refinances where they're streamlined, where you don't have to do an appraisal. They don't verify your income again. Those typically you have to have been in the loan for 210 days before you could take advantage of that, which is after 6 payments, basically.
See, this is exactly why it's so important to have you on the show, and I appreciate
That's great, yeah.
Because that level of detail, we think we know everything, and but we don't, and so I appreciate.
But that's my lane.
I constantly tell people all
I
day.
appreciate your-
Anytime I get questions surrounding that kind of stuff, I say I'm the people person. I'm not the numbers person.
Yep.
Let me refer you to a numbers person.
What was that? Was that the VA thing? Was that IRRRRRRL? How many R's were in that?
3 R's.
3
It's
R's.
interest
okay.
rate reduction, but I don't know what the third R is.
Is it just for pirates or?
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, it's the VA's streamlined refinance where, again, you don't verify income as long as you've been making your mortgage payments on time and you've had 6 payments under your belt on your new VA loan. You could take advantage of a very easy, cost-effective refinance option.
Okay, so back to my point, which is before I was so eloquently corrected, and I appreciate it.
Informed.
Informed is still buying today makes sense to me because there is inventory out there.
Yeah.
If you wait until the rates drop, now you're competing with everyone who's waiting for it to get to that certain number.
Yeah.
And unless enough inventory gets held up, you might get the lower rate, but the cost of your house is higher because if you're competing with more people. So anyway, so that's everyone's got to do this what their own circumstances allow for, and talking to professionals is probably the most important aspect that they can do to be informed about which way they move.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You said that it was an unpopular opinion, but honestly, I was under the impression that there was also a 6-month waiting period before you could refinance. So, I mean, upon hearing that, Dick, I totally agree with you. If you're able, because I am seeing offers getting accepted under asking price. I am seeing price improvements.
FHA loans being accepted.
Yeah,
VA loans
absolutely.
being accepted.
I am seeing opportunity on the buyer side of things right now. And if you are able to move forward on that, and then in a few months, in the event that something does change, like I always cringe when I hear people say that term. What is it? Marry the house, marry the house, date the rate. But in this scenario, I mean, there is real opportunity for that.
Yeah,
and being able to get ahead of the potential flood of buyers that could be entering the market.
Yeah, and everything we do here and everything we say here is our thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, there's no guarantees that rates are going to come down in September, right? I'm reading it in front of me that it's a 93.3% odds.
But there's still a 6% chance.
But exactly. I mean, we remember last year that this happened where, the rates were already supposed to come down. There was the Fed pivot back in December. And I saw a lot of agents and lenders, start posting out there that rates are going to be cut 6 times in 2024 and and it didn't happen. But not that that was the news back then. But so again, everything we're sharing is our thoughts on kind of what we're seeing being in the market. There's nothing is guaranteed. If you want a house today and you can afford it and you found the perfect house, by all means, jump on it. We don't know what tomorrow is going to hold.
Absolutely.
I gotta say, one of the things that stood out to me about your report today, Sly. Do you remember the days when the slightest shift of wind in politics or national events would cause sweeping changes in the stock market and the bonds rates? And the slightest little thing happened. It might have happened somewhere in Sri Lanka. And we would feel the ripple effects here in the U.S. in our economy. And in the past 2 weeks, we've had an attempted presidential assassination. And we've had the changing out of a major party's top candidate for president within 2 weeks. And we haven't heard a flutter through the markets.
It's unbelievable.
You do? I'd like to hear it.
My opinion on that it's a 2-part opinion. One, we have so much access to so much information all the time at our fingertips, whether we want it or not. I mean, you go on TikTok and it's just going to show up. And so I think that there's a little bit of disassociation that comes with that, where you're just so used to hearing stuff all the time now that you kind of just start to filter it out and it doesn't affect you as deeply. Because I know that I should have been more shaken when all of these things happened, but I mean, I truly wasn't. And not because I don't care. And this is the second part of that opinion, is that we've lived through so many unprecedented times at this point as millennials. We've seen so many historic events that I think it's just another Tuesday at this point to us, truly.
And I think also it's just the sheer size of the economy. And then I don't think I heard the word $1 trillion, until, a couple of years ago. And now they throw around trillion like it's $1 billion, like it's just the sheer size of the debt, the numbers that we hear every day is just like it is what it is,
And speaking of trillion, Mayor Marturano here is going to talk about the Lindenhurst budget, which, they've
quickly approaching $1 trillion, right? Revenues, that'd be great.
Yes.
Oh, wouldn't it? Yeah. Okay, folks, thanks so much for joining us for that second half. We'll be back shortly to join Mayor Marturano, who's in the studio. We're going to talk all about Lindenhurst and all the strides they're making to what is it? Make Lindenhurst great again. Sorry, that was a bad joke. Okay, we'll see you.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in And welcome back. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here with Kristen Kaufman,
Hello, hello.
Sly Marinka.
Hello, everybody.
And new in the studio is Mayor of Lindenhurst, Dominic Marturano.
Hello.
Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for joining us. Make sure I've got everything. Here, let me just get this stopped. Okay, there we go. I want to thank Mayor Marturano for coming into the studio today. I just want to make sure I've got your video. Hey, Dom, is it comfortable for you to just slide over just a couple of inches? I want to make sure you're nice and centered there. Okay, perfect. Great. So we got the camera moved from Sly to Mayor Marturano. And so welcome. Introduce
Thank you.
yourself.
Thank you. Yes, thanks for having me, Dick and group. I'm Mayor Dominic Marturano from the village of Lindenhurst. I've been the mayor since 2015. I'm on my third term now. That term ends in 2027. I was previously before mayor, 2 terms as a village trustee. So at the end of this current term, I will have been on the village board for a total of 20 years.
Wow, that's a lot of service.
Thanks.
So in addition to being the mayor of Lindenhurst, you also serve on some boards throughout the county. What are those?
Sure. As a consumer of Lake Michigan water through the Central Lake County Joint Action Water Agency, otherwise known as CLC JAWA, every town who gets water participates on that board. I am currently the chair of the board. We can set policy and strategy for CLC JAWA along with all the other mayors who participate and consume Lake Michigan water.
Can I pause you there?
Sure.
Because this is primarily a real estate show. And one of the best-selling factors for communities in our area who are part of JAWA is that we have Lake Michigan water. Yep. So I want to make sure the listeners and the viewers understand that JAWA is basically the entity that gets and delivers Lake Michigan water to the communities. Hey, Sly, is Antioch on JAWA? No.
I don't believe so.
Yeah,
No.
I didn't think so. So that Lake Michigan water, you don't need your water softeners.
We definitely need one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have the stains, the brown stains in the toilet. Well, you might, but not from the water. And sorry, this is an adult show. All the kids are at school, right? Oh, it's summer.
It's summer.
And obviously the taste is good and stuff. So you recently brought Lake Michigan water to Lindenhurst.
Yes, recently Lakeville and Lindenhurst brought Lake Michigan water in. We started taking Lake Michigan water in late 2017. There's a huge effort to go through to get Lake Michigan water. It's not like you just drop a pipe in the lake and drop a pump in and start bringing water in. You have to get an allocation from the state. That's run by the IDNR, Illinois Department of Natural Resources. Lindenhurst, Lakeville, and probably 8 other communities back in 2006, 2007 started to petition the state to get Lake Michigan water. In the case of Lindenhurst, we had issues with a lot of our wells. We were, getting groundwater to supply to our residents, and of those 10 wells, 4 of them started to dry up.
Oh wow!
So as you look to the future, I've told people, Lindenhurst is a 4.5 square mile town. I can't just go drop a pipe and a hose in neighboring Gurnee or Antioch or some other town and start taking water, from groundwater from their community. So we're pretty much tapping into the same groundwater supply of those 10 different wells. Those wells are shallow water aquifers. They're about 100, 125 feet down. So we were faced with the option of, do we continue to have our wells dry up? That wasn't a good option.
No.
Certainly not doing anything wasn't an option. We could drill deep wells at it's like $1 million. At the time, it was over $1 million. The issue going deep is when you hit a deep aquifer, there's poison in that water. And in a lot of cases, you got to take the poison out. And if I'm, teaching to an environmental class in high school, I asked them to raise their hands. How many know of businesses that want to take poison off your hands in large quantities? And then what do they do with it? So we started looking at, this large body of water to our east, Lake Michigan. And once the state gave us an allocation, we formed a group. And a few groups after getting the allocation decided to drop out for various reasons. They didn't have the infrastructure in place at the time, et cetera. And it was really about 6 communities that formed a couple of groups to start looking at where do we get Lake Michigan water from. Make a long story short, instead of starting our own water agency, one by one we petitioned CLC JAWA out of Lake Bluff. They were serving Lake Bluff, Libertyville, Mundelein, Grays Lake, Gurnee, Round Lake Beach, Round Lake Heights, Round Lake, around Lake Park. And so we thought, boy, if they could support us, we'd love to tie into them. And so CLC Jawa had the capacity to support what became the North Group for construction purposes, Lakeville, Lindenhurst, Grandwood Park, and Fox Lake Hills. And then later, Volo and Wakanda, who had also obtained water allocation from the state, formed the West Group, and for construction purposes, they started up. And again, we got this water. I call it the infinite supply of water, Lake Michigan. You may argue with me as a scientist that someday, in some millennium, Lake Michigan may dry up. But for my lifetime, your lifetime, everybody in here, our kids, our grandkids, there will be an adequate supply of Lake Michigan water. And, oh, by the way, it's a high quality. CLC Jawa and the technology that we deploy there is one of the best around. Other countries come to tour that facility in Lake Bluff to see all the great things we do with water. So it costs more, yes, but it's an infinite supply. And whether you're building a home, you're going to buy a home, you're going to start a business, you want an adequate and a good supply of water. Every time you turn on that faucet, you want to make sure that water's coming out and it's a good supply. And so I was a trustee at the time when we voted to go with CLC Jawa. I said this was probably the biggest decision that the Lindenhurst Village Board would ever make, given the impact not just to our current residents, but to future generations.
It's before you guys had the project and brought the water in, we would hear all the time from buyers, I don't like the smell of Lindenhurst water, so we don't want to look there. Now, we still have some people who don't know. So people are like, Lindenhurst water, no thanks. Like, whoa, wait a second. It's Lake Michigan now. I'm like, whoa, really? So from a kind of a real estate standpoint, I think one of the best decisions you made. Obviously, the sustainability is important, but I have a one-track mind. Well, I don't think I care about is the real estate values.
You're like, actually, this reminds me of real estate. Let me talk about that.
So you guys did a special service area for the project. Is Lakeville included in that same SSA?
Yes, it is. The North Group, we went based on interviewing different financial firms, different consultants who had worked on projects similar in other communities. We decided to create an SSA, special service area. It was a contiguous area for Grandwood Park, Lindenhurst, Lakeville, and Fox Lake Hills. And so that SSA funded the pipes that brought water connected to, in the case of Lindenhurst and Grandwood Park, it connected to a pipe in Gurnee on Washington Street. And for Lakeville and Fox Lake Hills, it was a connection through a pipe in Round Lake Beach. And so that paid for that. We all had internal improvements to do. At the time, we got low-interest loans through the state. And Lindenhurst, we were loaned about $15 million to make sure that, one, based on engineers' recommendations, we upsized some of our water pipe to make sure that every point in town, even the far reaches, would have a good, sufficient, and consistent water pressure. We didn't want to bring in Lake Michigan water and then have all sorts of distribution problems.
Right.
And then we also, the receiving facility cost us $3.5 million, and that brought water in. What was nice about that is we could divert water to one of our two existing water towers, or we also built a 1 million gallon groundwater storage tank at the facility to also bring in water and store it for use.
Oh,
so we could distribute water to any of 3 of our reservoirs, if you will, and those were through low-interest loans. We're paying that back over a 20-year period, and that repayment is baked into our water and sewer rates.
So when you filled your towers with the Lake Michigan water, so did you get rid of all your pumping stations, or do you still have those in emergency?
Great question. We actually have shut down some, but our agreement, every town's agreement with CLC Jawa, you have to keep a couple of your existing pumps on standby. case there was an issue of getting water either out of the lake or from the facility in Lake Bluff on through to your community, if there's ever any water main breaks or anything that would cause a disruption of service, each member has to have and test on a frequent basis to make sure that if necessary, they can continue to supply residents with water in an uninterrupted fashion.
Now, do you know how long is the SSA that you guys took out? Is that a 20-year?
It was either 20 or 30, but the construction costs came under budget, and we've recently, I think we've paid some of those bonds off early, and I think over the term of that loan, I believe we're going to save our residents $75 million in total across the board. So,
wow.
So those property tax rates have gone down and will continue to stay lower than what was originally projected.
Now, did you know that you could have gone to Sly and asked him to recast those bonds?
I didn't before this meeting, but I heard earlier that, we probably should have looked into that.
So that's cool. And I remember when this project was going through, it was, I couldn't believe, how often does government do anything that's on time or sooner and on budget or less? And
Dominic for president.
Right.
Well, no, I pushed very hard because once we, I'm an IT guy by trade formally, and managing project plans, you always build in a fudge factor. We call it contingencies. And as we were getting close to the end, there was a lot of pushback of, we've got more time. We had committed to our residents in Lindenhurst that they would have water before the start of 2018. And as it got close, there was some talk of, maybe it'll go into early 2018. And I said, no, we've committed to our residents. We don't want to cut corners, but we're gonna meet our commitments. We're gonna be on time and on or under budget. And right after Thanksgiving, we started in 2017. We started receiving water, and I would say we were completely on Lake Michigan water by December 15th. So we met that. And
nice.
That's again in government of any size, local, state, or federal, doesn't happen all that often. So I. And everyone who worked in getting Lake Michigan water, we were very proud of getting that water on time.
You don't know him, but big government Gary would have been very disappointed in that. But with regard to, excuse me, forgive me 1 second. I want to switch topics real quick to talk about the other big thing that's happening in Lindenhurst that we've seen, because Lindenhurst Plaza, Lindenhurst Center, right across the street from our office.
Yeah.
We went to bed one night, we woke up the next day, we go to the office, and we see it's already done a major change. What's going on there? It seems like it's a lively strip center again.
Yeah. You and anybody who's familiar with Lindenhurst had seen the downfall of the Linden Plaza over the years. The prior owners did not want to put any money into it. There were times when anywhere from a third to a half of the storefronts were empty. Didn't seem to be a huge push to get those filled. Now, some residents on social media talked about how high the rental rates were. I talked to businesses that were in there, and they said our rates were really competitive.
Yeah.
And especially ones who were coming in said, we looked in other towns, and the Lindenhurst rate was something that brought us here. So believe what you want on social media, but the owners of that plaza, the prior owners, did not want to put money in. So make a long story short, maybe about a year ago, a group approached the village saying that they were under contract to purchase the plaza. They were not flippers, if you will. They weren't in it for the short term. They were in it for the long term. They said, we see this not only as a long-term investment, but for us financially, but an investment in the community. And that really was nice to hear after so many years of the plaza falling in disrepair. So right away, they promised that once they closed, that they were going to put a fresh coat of paint on. They were going to redo the parking lot. They were going to put in new lights in the parking lot and in front of all the stores, the sidewalk in front of all the stores. And they plan to fill all the storefronts within a year period. People all of a sudden, business owners around the area came to me and others and said, what are these new owners like? And I said, all I can tell you is they're doing everything that they said they're going to do. Whether that continues, only time will tell. But they put a fresh coat of paint on right away. Some people liked it, some didn't. But again, it was a fresh coat of paint. I didn't think they'd get the parking lot redone before the asphalt plants closed in the fall. But lo and behold, they redid the entire parking lot, put in new lights. They've worked with us on signage, and they've just put up one of two monument signs. And right now, I think there's only one or two storefronts that are not filled
Really?
or under contract right now. The big news, recently is they've signed a deal with what will be their anchor, Ace Hardware, and the Laskowski family, who own Ace Hardwares in Round Lake,
Great family.
Antioch, Gurney, Libertyville, I think McHenry, Wakanda. They're actively involved in the Lake County and McHenry County area. I've been trying to get them to Lindenhurst for years, and I think finally my all my begging and pleading paid off with Rich and his sister Deb. So they're coming next spring. They'll be a great anchor. We've got new restaurants coming in. These owners have created kind of a restaurant row, tried to put these restaurants together as best they could. And one thing that they proposed when we first met was, maybe in a few years we'll think about creating a space for some outdoor dining. Mm-hmm. My response was, don't wait a couple of years. You've got to do this now.
Right.
In the Midwest here, Mother Nature isn't always kind to us, and we're not like Southern California. We can get 12 months of outdoor dining, but, I can come through Mundelein in late October and see, off of 45, seeing the restaurant row shut down, heaters out, places mob with people. Yep. So I thought, if we could get this in Lindenhurst. So unfortunately, they're not going to be able to get that in place this year, but I firmly believe and hope, and I'll continue to push that they get an outdoor dining area established for next year. Yeah. I've seen some preliminary plans, for seating, a little stage area, so that whether it's music or other entertainment, they could do it. And I think that's really going to draw people to our downtown area as well.
Yeah. Are there any other plans for entertainment?
That's just going to come as this management group, these owners, just get more familiar with the community. They've done once a month now. They just did the second one, kind of an artesian market. They probably had about 40 different vendors set up in the parking lot on a Sunday, and people just come out and look at crafts, look at other things that are going on. These people are selling, and it's been really popular. A few of the restaurants that are there have kind of pushed out some of their product out to the sidewalk and, have tables and booths, and I think that's going to continue. Once we get into the winter months, I think they're going to look for something inside. Might be a little bit more difficult, but you're starting to just see a revitalization. All of a sudden, people who were avoiding downtown because of the lack of development, the lack of programs, the lack of goods and services are now starting to flock back. What I've cautioned our residents and community is they've got to continue to support these mom and pop businesses, not just for the next few months, but for the long term. They've got to be in it for the long term to make all these businesses successful. Yes, you've got some larger groups like Ace Hardware, although it's family run. Subway's going to reopen soon, but most all of the storefronts are mom and pops. I mean, they're small. Obviously, Sammy's has a couple locations here in Lake County. Three-Legged Brewing is something new. They were selling some product in iced coffees in Grays Lake. Damashki is new with their Mediterranean food, but these are all small business people, and they need the community to support them. We, the village, will support them as best we can. We have some economic grants that we give out, and we've given out plenty of those. 12 now. We granted some in the last board meeting, but over $250,000 we've given to various businesses in the area to help them be successful.
It was really promising. It was really promising to see when you guys had around Christmas time. You kind of had like a grand reopening of the plaza, and I think the village was involved with that. I remember seeing you, a lot of the trustees there, to see just how many of the public did show up. One of the kind of kind of long-standing facts about Lindenhurst is that when places open up, the people come out for a second week and they just disappear. And Lindenhurst is very much a bedroom community.
Yep.
People, they live there, but they work somewhere else, they shop somewhere else, they dine somewhere else. And we now, so Bob and I in our office, we're over there a couple times a week. We go to Sammy's, we go to Damashki. We see, last time we were there, we saw that there's some sort of golf place opening up, and I'm assuming it's digital golf simulation.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that should be fun. Before we know it, we'll probably see axe throwing somewhere.
Hand in hand. Yep.
But having those stores close to each other is a great idea, because every time we're there, we see them, like, oh, we're going to come back for that. And sadly, you miss it in some of the other strips, or strips that are kind of on the outlier. But, the strip plaza over on Sand Lake and 45, that does pretty well. And that's kind of it's out of the way, but it does fairly well.
It does, and I think what you'll see, we've really got a couple of different business areas. Obviously, downtown along Grand Avenue and now Lindenhurst Center, there's the big mall there. Between the mobile station and McDonald's, there's a small strip mall there. There's a new Indian restaurant that's called the Tikka Tap Room that's going to go in there shortly. Formerly Sarge's Beef. Sarge decided to stay in the area, but just do catering. He just wanted to do catering and has been successful with that. So, and eventually, other development, both commercial and residential, will go up along Route 45. So again, there's the plaza near Sand Lake with the Walgreens, Express Cafe, a few others. And then up on Grass Lake Road, there's a couple of strip malls there that have been successful. And have had money put in by local residents to improve those, and a lot of those storefronts are filled. So there's a lot going on, but people just have to continue to support them. Your neighbor next to you, RJ's, has new ownership,
and it's great.
And they're revamping things. We gave them a grant. They did a lot of work on the inside of it to open up everything and expanded bar area, so I expect them to get busy again, because their business was starting to fall off as well.
I don't know if you still have time, but there's a few more things I do want to talk to you about.
Sure.
Are you want to stick out with us for the last half hour?
Sure, absolutely.
Because I want to talk about economic development, not just in what you've kind of overseen over the past couple of years commercially, but I want to talk about what the footprint of Lindenhurst still looks like for development opportunity, either residential or further commercial. And then also, I know there was an issue going back maybe decades now about Forest Preserve and the village getting into a kind of a heated debate over certain lands. And I'm just curious if that's settled, if it's what the outcomes were, and then if there's still potential for expanding the footprint of you game for that conversation?
Absolutely.
Awesome. We'll be right back.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity.
And welcome back. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here in the studio with Kristen Kaufman.
Hey, hey.
And Sly Marinka.
Hello, everybody.
And back for the last segment, Mayor Marturano of Lindenhurst.
Hello.
During the break, Mayor Marturano said he wanted to clarify something. So, Mayor, what was that you wanted to do?
Yeah, in talking to everyone, and I want to make sure a lot of times I say I. It's really we. I can't do my job without a great village board to work together, and obviously the staff from administrator to police chief, director of operations, and all the employees are what makes it happen. Yes, I did talk to the Laskowskis a number of times and bug the daylights out of them to come to Lindenhurst, but other businesses, they will talk to me, they will talk to other board members, they will certainly talk to staff. And so I say I, but it's really it's a team effort, and that happens with CLC Jawa as well. And I did mention that I'm also on the board for the Lake County Municipal League, which is a league of all the mayors in the county. We get together. I was explaining to Sly a little bit before on one of our breaks that we get together and we're kind of, we commiserate with one another. We listen to each other's problems. We figure out how we could work out things together in the county. And we also do a lot of lobbying with our representatives in Springfield to make sure that we get legislation passed that's beneficial to our communities and not hurtful to our communities. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you did. And that brings to the forefront something that, this isn't The Simpsons where the mayor wears a mayor slash and walks around the community doing this and doing that and fixing the potholes and picking up the trash, right? So, and Kristen asks a lot when we have community service people in. How do you get involved in the community? What is the job of the mayor? So, you're not a full-time mayor, right?
That's correct.
So talk up to the listeners a little bit about what is your, you don't have to give us your daily routine, but what is your role as a mayor of, what are you, about 14,000 population, right?
14,406.
He knows it.
Not one less.
Right? So what is the role of a mayor in a community like Lindenhurst?
Sure. Most communities in Lake County, the mayor is part-time. Maybe other than Waukegan or North Chicago and maybe a Highland Park or someone, but most communities around here the mayors are part-time. The villages, the municipalities are run on a day-to-day basis by either a city manager, in the case of Lindenhurst, a village administrator, who then has a chief of police and a director of operations or public works, and maybe other directors of other functions reporting to them. My role as a mayor and the role of the village board is one of strategy and policy. So we work on, the high level stuff, vision of the village, where's it going, and then kind of work with staff. How do we get there? As the mayor, I was explaining earlier on a break, I facilitate the board meetings. It's a business meeting. I run those meetings, but the mayor very rarely votes. I would only vote in a tie, and under certain state laws, when more than a simple majority is needed, like, for example, if we were annexing land into our village, I would have to vote on that. And there's a couple of other instances, but for the most part, the mayor, when it comes to board meetings, is a facilitator. And other things, obviously, right, people come to me if they're interested in maybe starting a business, extending a business, starting a residential development. And I'll talk to them initially to listen to them. But then I really appoint those potential community members over to our staff. They really get into the details. They know all the zoning ordinances. I don't. I mean, there's a reason that I don't. I I have complete confidence in our staff at the village to do the jobs that they're hired to do. They work on a full-time basis. Again, we're just there for strategy and policy. We want to make sure we keep our employees happy. We want to keep our residents happy as best we can, and we want to be fiscally responsible. Those are the things that kind of drive me and our board in all the decisions and all the discussions we have. So that's kind of what I do.
And I like that you call it a business meeting or refer to it as a business meeting, because it's essentially that's really what it is. Just like we're always on this show talking about the importance of working with professionals for a couple of reasons. I don't know everything about mortgages. I don't know anything about insurance. I don't know anything about digging a well, right? But we're connected to professionals someone who could tell you who the best financial planners are, the best mortgage companies are, the best insurance companies are, and their job is to stay up with all of the constant revolving regulations, laws, rules, taxes, certain legal implications, as well as available funds. So do you guys do your own economic development? Do you do that in-house, or do you outsource that?
We outsource it. We currently have a woman on who we contract. She's part-time, and we've had her now for a couple of years. We didn't feel the need to have someone full-time, pay full-time salary and benefits.
And IMRF.
And all that. Yep. And so we found Anita Archambault is our economic development. She's great. She's got a great background. Obviously, this isn't her only gig, but she devotes the necessary time. She's been reaching out to businesses, and she's done a lot to get the pulse of the community and, find out, really what the current businesses, what they need from us, how we can help, and also provide leads to, whether it be the Lindenhurst Center owners or others in terms of other potential businesses to come into our town.
What would you say the biggest complaint from the community affecting Lindenhurst is today?
They've talked for years about, a downtown area, village identity, and again, now with investors who want to be here in Lindenhurst for the long term, I think that downtown area has provided a lot more favorable feedback from the community. As these businesses continue to start up, continue to provide more goods and services than what we've had in the past. The Ace Hardware coming in, will help a lot of people to keep them local versus going other places. Now, Ace Hardware is not going to have everything they're going to need. They may have to go elsewhere. But I think bringing them to that downtown area, I think that's going to be really beneficial for our community. And it's not just our residents, it's going to be residents from other communities as well.
Right.
I agree with that.
No different than, a lot of us go to other communities for certain needs, certain desires. We hope that it's not just our community, but other communities, come to us. And so we kind of expand our boundaries. The other thing we're dealing with every day from an infrastructure perspective, are our roads. We have 94 lane miles of roads that we have to maintain, and we've used a consulting firm now twice over the last few years to measure our roads. We used to always allocate funds based on what I call the eye test. Police and public works are driving our streets every day. They can see and they can feel what roads are the worst as they drive over them. But that's only based on the surface layer. Mm-hmm. What we found with the data that this company provided us is not just what the eye can see, but what the eye couldn't see, the underlayer. And so we've reprioritized our funding and actually had to provide more funding to roads to get them up to an industry standard that's even considered fair in the industry. Better than poor, better than very poor. And we're working, every day to try and figure out how to get the most out of those dollars. Motor fuel tax dollars, when you pay at the pump your motor fuel tax, that goes to the state, and then a certain amount based on per capita is remitted back to the villages. That is an encumbered fund. I can't go and take motor fuel tax funds and use that to pay police officers, for example. It has to be used for roads. Right. So we can resurface a road, we can use crack seal on roads, we can use it for road salt in the wintertime. But but that nowhere near takes us to where we need to be. So we have to have other funds, whether it's property taxes, sales tax, local income tax that comes back to us. We have to use all of that to try to get to that 94 lane miles as best we can. And we just last month, a couple of Mondays back, approved $1.4 million for this cycle, just this year, in resurfacing, I think it was 12 streets in the village.
Okay.
It's a humongous effort, and I know everybody wants their streets perfect. A lot of people feel that based on their property taxes, that their streets should be lined in gold. But as I remind people, only 3% of a Lindenhurst resident's tax bill goes to the village of Lindenhurst.
Wow.
3%. Three pennies of every dollar. And that also covers not just operations in certain aspects, that covers our police pension fund as well. So we do as best we can with a little, but we can't get to every road in every year. So we do the best we can, and we now have good data to make sure that we're making the right decisions.
Now, Mayor, you say it much kinder than I say it. So when I see those complaints, I shouldn't have a pothole in front of my house paying $12,000 a year in property taxes. And I would almost invariably say the same kind of cheesy line, which is, I agree with you, you shouldn't. So I want you to go to the schools and tell them to go get a bag of asphalt and have the schools patch it for you, because that's where 65 to 75%, depending on, is going to. And that's not a knock on the schools. The point is that because of the way the schools are funded in our state, it's almost completely dependent on property taxpayers. So our bloated property tax bills, huge portion is going to the states. Villages making by with very, very little. And then you're also capped about how you can raise it every year. Got a little bit more leeway in the past 4 years with kind of runaway inflation. But even that's capped at the 5%, with inflation going up to 8 or 11% in certain circumstances. You can only raise 5%. Now, I do want to make a point not everyone realizes. From my research, and that might have changed in the past 2 years, but the last time I looked at it, the village of Lindenhurst is one of the lowest tax rate villages in the entire Lake County. Is that still the case?
I believe it still is. I'm probably thinking of the same study that you saw, but yeah, we pride ourselves in being, we call it frugal at times, but again, we try to do the best we can in spending our residents' money as best we can, and not ask for too much. There's probably other municipalities that every time that come property tax levy time, they're just going to go to the 4.99%.
Right.
Because they say they can. We don't do that. We build our budget from the bottom up, and we make sure that what we ask and what we approve is what we truly need, and not more.
So when you say bottom up, do you go as far as saying you're a zero-based budgeting policy?
Yes, we start every year. The departments, start their budgets. Obviously, they're going to look at their current spending, what the prior budget was, where they think they're going to land. But they're looking at operations on a day-to-day basis, what they project for the next fiscal year. Our fiscal year is May 1st to April 30th. And those, soon the budget process for next fiscal year will start. And those budgets are then reviewed by the administrator. We also have a finance committee made up of 3 of our 6 trustees that will go through and look at operational budgets. We have a capital plan that we review every year. That's kind of looking 5+ years out to make sure that our major projects, infrastructure, water and sewer, roads, bike paths, all those projects kind of feed together with what it is that we can expect based on the priorities we've set, based on the surveys we send to our residents. We've used a firm now, and I think we've done it twice in the last 4 or 5 years. We get feedback from our residents as to what's important and what's not, and we use that as input for our strategic plan, which we just updated last year. So all that goes into making sure that we're doing the best we can with the least amount of dollars possible.
And forgive me because we're running out of time quick, so
Sure.
I'm going to do some rapid fire. There's a few things I want to kind of get information on. So what does the future of Lindenhurst look like from a available, developable land perspective for commercial residential? How much is still left to develop?
Well, there's still land possible for development along Route 45. That would be north of Grand Avenue. The Briargate community is well on its way. That's the age-restricted 55 and older. That was approved in 3 phases, about 70 homes in each phase. First phase is about built out. Second phase is underway. They've built a clubhouse for that community in the second phase, and they've started, I believe the administrator just told me that the companies just started pulling permits for phase 3. So that's going to go on. There's still property south of there that's available for development.
If I can, I just want to touch base on the 55 plus. What I like about that from a kind of a tax perspective is that all of that, first of all, it's very high value real estate, coming in at about $250, $275 a square foot, and the tax revenue impact to Lindenhurst is huge, and the draw on the school system is almost non-existent,
right,
because it's a 55 plus community.
Yep.
That's a huge, it's like a double whammy mega win.
Yeah, when this company came to us, they were they kind of talked to us about having a focused on 55 and older, and I said, no, it's got to be enforced. Otherwise, you could get a young family, could be a starter home for them if both husband and wife are working, and that puts a huge burden on the schools. That's not what we necessarily need right now. So they made it restricted, and it's worked out really well so far.
Cool. And what was the other lands you were talking about?
So the land just to the south of Briargate obviously is open as well. That was part of originally the development that was going to be a large outdoor mall back in 2007, and that company from Arizona kind of went under when we had the economic downturn, and so obviously that land is available for either commercial or residential. Just north of Sand Lake Road, and so if you're familiar with the area on 45, north of the Wendy's, there's some properties there that could be developed. Heritage Park, which is a little bit northwest of Wendy's. Back in probably 2012, they were putting in a number of townhomes. They only did about half. We just approved them to do the second half. 100 townhomes are going up as we speak, and I expect, again, as you talked earlier in your segment about the market, I think that's going to be a great landing place for people who want to come to Lindenhurst and get started. So there's plenty of places along Route 45, which I believe will be the corridor that will get built out in Lindenhurst fairly shortly once the downtown area is developed.
And I hate to cut you short, but we're out of time. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you join us again, because I've got another 2 hours worth of questions for you.
I'll come back anytime.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us. That's Dominic Marturano from Mayor of Lindenhurst. Of course, we've got Kristen Kaufman and Sly Marinka, and you all know how to get a hold of them if you need them. Thanks for joining us again. I'm Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, and we'll see you next week.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the heart of our community, exploring the ins and outs of real estate and meeting the people who make Lake County truly remarkable. Remember, every property has a story, and every community member holds a key to unlocking our county's full potential. Don't miss out on discovering more hidden gems and expert insights. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday at 12 noon for another episode of Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr. Until then, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and keep unlocking the possibilities that await you in Lake County. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.